So, Garrison, what's your confirmed kill count? For the record, requesting permission to answer that question completely, sir. Permission granted. 47.
They asked the human's kill count as a joke. He answered HFY Sci-Fi. The joke started on a Thursday during briefing, when Commander Vex asked a question nobody actually expected a real answer to. So, Garrison, Vex said, his reptilian voice carrying a particular edge of amusement that predators use when they think they're being clever. What's your confirmed kill count? For the record. The briefing room went quiet in the way that briefing rooms do when someone has just crossed a line they didn't know existed. My name is James Garrison. I'm a lieutenant in the United Federation Starfleet, and I have served with the crew of the USS Praetorian for 3 years. I'm the youngest tactical officer in the fleet, assigned to a command structure around species that have been spacefaring for centuries, while my kind discovered fire approximately 15,000 years ago. The irony of that situation is not lost on me, which is probably why Vex thought he could push. I was reviewing casualty reports from the last engagement, a Krell raid on the Andorian sector, when the question came, the kind of question that in a normal military setting would be considered routine. But this wasn't a normal military setting. This was the bridge of Federation starship where the engineering team had 2 Vulcans and a crystalline consciousness, where the medical officer was a Betazoid who could literally read your emotional distress, and where the captain was a being of pure energy who communicated through an android proxy. In that context, asking a human his confirmed kill count felt like asking a nice pet to recite poetry. Sir, I said, not looking up for my readouts. Your confirmed kill count, Vex repeated, and I could hear the smile in his voice without seeing it. Surely you must track these things. All those raids, all those engagements. What's the tally? Lieutenant Syra, who was monitoring the science station, made a small sound that might have been suppressed laughter. Commander Krell, who was reviewing tactical data with the kind of focused attention that suggested he was already preparing for the next inevitable conflict, didn't look up. The thing was, and this was the thing that nobody in that briefing room understood about humans. I did know, not because I had sat down and counted, the way a collector might count coins, but because certain numbers burn themselves into your memory, the way supernovas burn themselves across the vacuum of space. They become part of your system, part of what wakes you up at 0300 hours. Requesting permission to answer that question completely, sir, I said. Vex's amusement shifted. I couldn't see his face, but I could feel the shift. Permission granted. Confirmed kills, direct tactical engagement, I said, and I stood up and turned to face him fully, and the briefing room held its breath. 247. The silence was profound. Vex's scale face showed nothing, but something moved in those reptilian eyes. Krell looked up from his tactical display. Syra's hands froze over a console. The other officers, the Xylothian, the Helix Collective Consciousness in its android housing, the pale blue trill who had lived for 600 years across multiple hosts, all of them found something suddenly very important to pay attention to on the screens in front of them. 247, Vex repeated, and the amusement was gone. His voice had become something else entirely. Yes, sir. In 3 years. Yes, sir. That's... Vex started and then didn't finish. Just process it in that cold reptilian way. That exceeds the lifetime count of most Krell warriors. Yes, sir, I said. I am aware. What I didn't say, what the briefing room was now starting to understand without me saying it, was that humans had something that made us strange among the species of the Federation. We weren't the strongest. We weren't the fastest. We weren't the most intelligent or the longest lived or the most telepathic or the most naturally talented at warfare. But we could do one thing that no other species could do with the same efficiency. We could compartmentalize trauma. We could take the thing we had done and the thing it had cost and lock it away in a box labeled necessary and go on functioning. We could kill the enemy and mourn our own and show up to the briefing the next day and do it again. We could carry the weight of every single death we caused and still stand upright because evolution had prepared us for it. Every day for millions of years on our planet was survival. Every resource was scarce. Every conflict was life or death. We weren't built for peace or philosophy or the kind of long-term strategic thinking that species who lived for centuries could develop. We were built for this, for the moment when the choice became kill or watch your crew die. and we were terrifying at it. Your count includes what engagement? Krell asked quietly. The defense of Outpost Sigma 7, sir. I said, 213. The rest distributed across 17 different tactical engagements. You held that outpost alone for 18 hours. Vex said, it wasn't a question. Yes, sir, with support from the orbital defense grid, until reinforcements arrived. The briefing room was starting to understand what it had never quite processed before. Humans weren't useful on Federation starships because we were naturally part of a larger structure. We were useful because we were efficient, because we could do the thing that everyone else in the room had been horrified at the concept of doing, and then come to work the next morning. Captain Theron, communicating through his android proxy, broke the silence. Thank you for the transparency, Lieutenant. That will be all. I sat back down. Vex didn't make any more jokes about human kill counts. What he did do was quietly begin restructuring the tactical protocols so that I was the primary response during crisis situations. Not because he liked what I represented, but because he understood, finally, what a deathworld species was capable of when it was backed into a corner. The casualty rates on the USS Praetorian dropped by 43% in the following quarter. Nobody ever asked me directly again, but I could see it now in how they looked at me, not with the kind of affection that came from friendship, but with the kind of respect that comes from understanding exactly what you're standing next to. I wasn't the nice pet anymore. I was the thing they kept in the corner and took out when they needed the galaxy to understand